Simple guy.
Fantastic. 1, 2, 3. That's my official starter. Big old clap. So, welcome. I believe it's your first time on the podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
So we got my good friend here, and we're gonna do one of those talk about the military and what we did and getting out and all that other fun jazz. Because I think it's important, and it's my show. So, welcome to another GD podcast. This week we're going to be talking about the military story and the transition of Mr.
Clayton Thomas.
Clayton Thomas. Okay, so I didn't have any notes for this because I can't Google you and like information will show up like some of the other people I've interviewed.
That's a good thing.
So, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia. Move that mic just a touch closer to you for me. Fantastic. So Columbus, Georgia, and what was home life like prior to joining the military? Like outside a lot, sports a lot,
Oh man,
like all that jazz. Give me the origin story of Clayton here.
All right. Grew up in a fantastic household, wonderful mother, wonderful father, very supportive, and a brother he's all right, I guess. Younger brother, loved him that too. We spent the first 23 years of my life in Columbus. My dad works for a CPA firm over there, and my mom quit working kind of early to take care of us too. Sports-wise, I tried a lot of sports. Unfortunately, I wasn't particularly physically developed until I got a little older. I found out the hard way that football wasn't for me. Loved the sport, no good at it.
Yeah, I was very small in stature as a young attempted football player.
Played a lot of baseball. Found out I wasn't particularly great at that either, but I tried real hard. I kept winning the coach's heart awards and stuff, you know.
Nice.
And he tried.
He tried. He's a good trier.
I found golf with my dad at a very young age, and that was something that we kind of bonded over. He loves playing golf, still loves playing golf to this day. I picked it up with him, and I actually got pretty good at it, played varsity in high school. Actually got picked up for a small scholarship over at Mercer University to go to once I graduated high school. Went over there, joined the golf team, and unfortunately a young man was led to his own devices. I made a lot of poor life choices while I was over there, and you got to go to class to pass class.
What?
And the golf people told me that maybe the team wasn't for me if I couldn't keep my grades up in the first place.
Yep.
And Mercer decided that maybe Mercer wasn't for me.
Gotcha.
So left Mercer after a year with not a whole lot to show for it. Went to CSU for a little while. Kind of tried to find myself, did accounting, did biomedical engineering was what my original major was in, but they didn't have that program. Kind of just couldn't really find anything that really sparked interest in me. And my dad asked me, he's like, well, what are you going to do? You got to start earning your keep somewhere or another,
right,
sooner or later. And we talked a lot about it. And growing up in Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning, now Fort Moore was just down the road from us. So we know a lot of guys who've had very successful careers in and out of the military. And I figured I'd go down to a recruiting office. And we had an Air Force office next to an Army office. And I started with the Air Force office, and things went real well. Unfortunately, God bless my recruiter. I know he's doing his job, but
That bastard lied to me.
I made the mistake of going in there and saying, "Man, I'm ready to go. Let's, here's all my ASVAB scores, which were pretty high, 200 more, and I could have kind of done just about anything I wanted to. But I said, I want to get out of here. I'm ready to move on and get a life started. I'm 23 years old. I got to get something going. I can't be working at Publix for the rest of my life."
Got it.
And he said, "Oh man, we got a spot for open mechanical right now. You can take it." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Any job that's turning wrenches or something like that, could be anything," which also included the legendary Air Force flight line, which if anybody knows what that is, that's where dreams would die. And I went in open mechanical, got picked up, run off, went to basic, and then I forgot what week it was. They did little job assignments for the people that were in open career fields. And I ended up with aircraft armament for F-16s.
Aircraft armament.
Yes.
Okay.
Some people call it weapons. That's what most people call it, but aircraft armament technician is the official term.
Okay, let's not go too far. We're on a run right now, but we're going to draw back a little bit. So, great family life. Sports not for you. Did you grow being in Columbus, Georgia? Did you grow up hunting, fishing? Was that a part of it?
Fishing was a huge part of my life.
Okay.
A lot of family members, including my grandparents, that were just huge into bass fishing, and they kind of, you know, like most kids you would do, hand you a cane pole when you're old enough to stand and hold it. And we started fishing a bunch, and I fell in love with bass fishing for years. Unfortunately, as I got older and was working time and factory, kind of got back out of that. I still do it as a hobby. I still genuinely enjoy it, but hunting wasn't particularly big on my to-do list. I would go out with my friends and mess around every now and then, but I wasn't an avid hunter. I'm still not a particularly avid hunter, but I will go out.
Okay. And then you tried the college thing, and that didn't pan out for you. So you said there was an Army recruiter and an Air Force recruiter right next to each other. And are you saying that your drive to go to the Air Force wasn't necessarily like what they had to offer, was who could get you out sooner?
It was what they had to offer.
Okay.
Again, being in Columbus and being around so many individuals from Fort Moore, and I knew a lot of people from the Army, and before I ever even walked into that door, I talked to a lot of older people and said, hey, if you could do it again, you know, what would you do? Where would you go? And I won't say all of them, but overwhelming majority said if I had the opportunity to go to the Air Force or something else, said if you had the opportunity to go to the Air Force, you would take it. So
Okay.
that's what I ran with.
Okay. And then you said you joined when you were 23. So I went through boot camp at 19. You went through boot camp at 23. A little bit older, a little more mature. What was that experience dealing as a grown adult that's been on his own, that can legally drink? What was it like dealing with a bunch of snot-nosed 18-year-olds?
Well, you've been through boot camp, you know, you end up kind of making friends with people that you maybe wouldn't so much have done out in the wild because you kind of, for a lack of better terms, y'all trauma bond.
Yeah, trauma bond, and you ain't got a choice.
And, you know, you end up finding common ground, and that's actually one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about my career was meeting so many different people from so many different walks of life and just really opening my eyes to a much broader way of thinking as a whole. Things that I just would have never exposed myself to. Yes, there were some times where, you know, you've got some little snot-nosed 18-year-old that's over there, got way too much testosterone running, they're not thinking straight, and you're just sitting there like, hey man, how about we just chill out? This is not that big a deal.
Dial it down a notch.
Tech school, obviously after our little grace period, I was able to legally drink. Obviously you're not trying to mess your life up by getting a DUI or anything like that, so actually having some friends that were under the age of 21 that were just happy to hang out. I also had a car during tech school.
Yep.
My dad was nice enough to bring my car out to Wichita Falls, so had the truck. So you know, I kind of exchanged using the car for rides when I wanted to go out and have a couple of drinks and stuff like that. Go out on the time. It's like, hey man, how about you drive us home and you can drive the truck wherever you want. We'll go where you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Denim and diamond.
Oh,
Yeah, I did a short period of time there. Okay, so you went through basic training. You ended up getting aircraft armament specifically for the F-16. Your tech school was at Wichita Falls, Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base. How long was tech school?
Oh God, it was either 4 or 6 months. I think it was 6 months for me, not because it's a 6-month tech school. I think it's a 4-month. I got, when we got there, there wasn't enough individuals to fill the initial class, and I got stuck on, I forgot what the duty's called, but you know, we were just going around cleaning stuff for just months, and then finally I was able to start, but I think I was there from...
Bay Orderly.
Yeah, Bay Orderly, that's what it was. I think I was there in July, and I got out there in November, so whatever the math was on that.
Couple months, yeah. All right, so you did your time there. Was the school overly difficult? Was it like...
For some people,
just the
it seemed like it was, but no, to me, I also, before I joined, I spent a couple of years working for my uncle at an auto restoration shop.
Okay.
For about 4 years. It was a summer gig initially, and then I worked there full time for a little bit after I got out of high school. working on restoring old Chevelles, Camaros, Bel Air, stuff like that. And it was-
So things that were mechanical.
yeah, so I was naturally very gifted, but very familiar with mechanical work. So, turning wrenches and understanding how metal bits intertwine and work wasn't really that complicated to me. It was just taking that and applying it to a different science.
Right. Okay, so from tech school, you graduated from tech school. Where was your first assignment?
My first assignment was Kunsan, Korea. I'll never forget the
Jesus
day.
Christ.
I'll never forget the day that we found out our class got our assignments. I was one of the last ones to get on a computer and check it. Everyone, I think 4 people got Sven Gollum. And then I get on there and I say, Kunsan, where is that? Because I never even looked at it. I didn't have Korea on my list at all.
Yeah.
I was the starry-eyed young man who had Italy and Germany and Hawaii and
Mildenhall.
yeah, all the cool stuff that I was just like, I can't wait. And then Kunsan, Korea, so where in the world is that? Google searched that real quick and just was like, oh, crap.
Yep.
I'm not going to pretend I was excited about it, but a couple of other people got an assignment that were in my class there, so I knew I'd have some people at least that had some common ground with.
Right.
And, went there and made the most of it, had a good time. Being old enough to legally drink in Korea was
a plus.
A huge plus because I never had to worry about
Underage drinking, getting caught, XYZ.
Yes, if anyone has ever been to Korea or ever heard anything about it, it used to be the Wild West, but it has since calmed down a bit. But
Yeah, it from what I hear, it has calmed down. Like that's where if the flight line is where dreams and hopes go to die, then Korea is where your liver goes to die.
Yeah, and I won't pretend that I didn't enjoy myself quite a few times. Woke up with my shoes on a few times in my life. Don't remember how I got there, kind of stuff. But you know what? Like I said, I had a great time, and because Korea, being in Kunsan in particular, you're so separated from everything. It's
And
not
that's
really
farther north, isn't it?
No, it's farther south.
It's farther south. So okay.
And there's the nearest city's Kunsan City, and that's a 45-minute cab ride. So a lot of people tend to stay on base, and the base is actually pretty good about having a lot of facilities to.
Yeah. They definitely have a good ORM.
The hoochies, if you've ever heard of those.
Yeah.
So, we got very tight camaraderie is the word everyone uses there, where you're just always around the same people hanging out with them. So I made a lot of really good friends there.
And that's a 12-month assignment, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so 12-month assignment. Did you extend?
I did not.
Okay.
I actually got married while I was there. I got married on a TDY in Alaska. We decided we were just going to go ahead and do it. Again, as a young man in the Air Force, you start realizing there's a lot of benefits to going ahead and getting married, and we were already going to do it.
Yeah.
And so we said, you know what, let's just go ahead and get the money coming in quicker. And so we had a TDY to...
Did you already know her before you went on the TDY?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I met her at different times. No, I'm kidding. Fantastic. But we had this TDY to Allison. She'd never been to Alaska, so I used what little bit of every paycheck I had been saving. I bought her a plane ticket. She flew up there. We did a little courthouse wedding up there.
Okay.
We've been married since.
So is she military? Okay, so she was a civilian, and you were in Korea, and when you TDY'd to Alaska, you flew her to Alaska.
Yep.
Okay, so where did y'all meet?
Where did we meet originally?
Yeah.
So I knew her before we...
The military?
Before the military.
Okay,
Yes, I met her
okay.
through a mutual friend back when I worked at the public supermarkets.
Okay, I was really trying to think if you did meet her at Denim and Diamond.
No, if you really want to know the exact truth of how we met, it was through social media, ironically, and no, not Tinder or anything. That didn't actually exist back then.
Didn't exist back then.
No, we had a mutual friend, and she posted something on Facebook, and I don't know why I saw it, but my now wife at the time, girl or whatever, commented something on it, and I just happened to get the notification from it.
Right.
And looked at it, and I was like, dang, who is this girl? So I hit up my friend. I was like, who is this? And she's like, oh yeah, it's one of my friends. She's single. She's like, I'll give you her contact if you just want to talk to her. The stereotypical one thing led to another.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say something I don't tell a lot of people, but this is a little.
Now you're going to tell a whopping 10 because that's all that listens to this podcast.
I know, but I am a little bit of that stereotypical military guy. I married my wife after 8 months of meeting her, so we got married very quick. Now, not to say that always failed. We've been married for it'll be 10 years in October. Very happily married for 10 years.
That's awesome.
But yes, we went ahead and got married while I was in Korea. And then I had a follow on to Vegas, which we were all excited about. You know, 2 young people heading to Vegas. We
You
thought that
said
was so
word.
cool.
That means you didn't go there.
So me and about 10 other people had an assignment to our follow-ons to Vegas, and every one of us walked into the office one day, and we all had the same unfortunate email updating us that we were all getting diverted.
Nice.
And they sent us a little email that said, hey, you've got 5 choices that we'll try to prioritize, we can't guarantee.
Right. Because
And-
nothing's guaranteed except unhappiness.
Exactly. And the options were Davis Monthan, Elmendorf. No, not Elmendorf, excuse me. Oh my God, I forgot the one up in North Dakota where the moose gonna die.
Yeah. Allison?
No, not Allison. God, whatever the base is up there in North Dakota. Or maybe South Dakota. It's South Dakota because North Dakota's Minot, which was also on there.
Yeah, why not? Freezing's the reason.
Yeah, and Shaw Air Force Base was on there, and Moody Air Force Base was on there. And not to knock on anyone who's stationed at Shaw, but I'm going to be honest with you, at that time I had never heard a single good thing about Shaw at all.
Yeah.
So I was going to steer clear from that. I am a southern boy, born in Georgia. I hate the cold weather. I still hate it to this day. So Minot and, God, if I can remember what it was up there in South Dakota, they were both off limits to me. So it came down to Moody and Davis Monthan, and I bounced it off a couple of people that had been in for a while, and they told me, hey, you're from Georgia. Like, most of us joined travel a little bit. Why don't you try to get out of your comfort zone? And plus, DM's a nice space.
Yep.
So I put down DM, Moody, and then the others as my order. Got an email back like 2 days later. Congratulations, you'll be getting an assignment to Davis Monthan in the near future. Got that, and that's what we ended up heading to.
Okay, so you went Lackland for basic, then you headed over to Shepherd, Kunsan, and now Davis Monthan.
Yep, Tucson, Arizona.
Hell yeah.
We spent 4 years in Tucson, stationed at the.
So at this point, you're probably like your 5.5 to 6 year mark when you.
No, dude, I was at my 1.5 year mark.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because Korea was that 12-month assignment, so I didn't even have senior airman on, and I was already on my second
Second
PCS.
base. God. I had buddies that did that and like dirt boys, and they were just like, they went Korea, Seymour, 2 years at Seymour, back to Korea, over here, over there, and I'm just like, man, how do y'all do it?
The movement was rough. But
yeah.
We went to Tucson, and I was excited. It's a new place, a completely new environment. We're out in the desert, and my wife moved out there with me, and we made the most of it. Made staff while I was there. After a while, like I said, spent 4 years there, and we started getting, I won't say homesick so much as she's from Tampa, Florida. I'm from Georgia.
Yep.
We're used to green, the color green, not the color brown, which everything in Tucson is just a different shade of
everything
brown.
is, yeah, it's.
We like, I told you I love to go fishing. It's really hard to fish in the desert, and she grew up liking to be outdoors and doing stuff like that.
Yep.
And when it's 115, it's really hard to go outside.
Yes, it is.
And so we finally got tired of it. I tried the BOP. My BOP got denied. The same day that my BOP got denied, I got the email. I put in for Korea a second time, along with a lot of people from my shop that I've been there with a very long time.
Yep. And BOP is a base of preference. It used to be a thing that you could do after you had so much time on station. You could put in for a base of preference, and you could put in for like once a year or something like that.
For us, there was a window.
Yeah.
It was usually at the tail end of an enlistment. I think it was within 24 months of your enlistment ending, you were able to apply for it. Now, part of the stipulation for it is you have to re-enlist to take it.
Yeah,
That's how they get you. They're like, hey, look at this little carrot. But I would have happily done it. At this point, we wanted to kind of get back closer to home. Our grandparents were getting older.
Yep.
Our parents are getting older.
Yep.
So we were starting to get a little bit homesick at this point. It's been almost 6 years. And we couldn't get it that way, and I said, you know what, I'm willing to do this. Korea also gives you a much higher priority BOP chance. So I put in for Korea after the BOP got denied, and I put in on a Friday, woke up Monday to a text message from my buddy saying we got orders.
Hell yeah.
To Osan, Korea. So like that. And I wasn't upset because I'd been to Kunsan, and you know what, I want to see Osan. It's nice up there near Seoul. And so started my third PCS.
Nice. Where did the wife go? Did she stay in Tucson, or should you go back east?
So when I went to when I got my assignment to Osan, I ended up not getting a follow-on. They never gave me anything.
Yep.
I tried, obviously, the same thing. Then this is what's ironic. So at this point, we were trying to move back to either Florida, which is always a crapshoot.
Yep.
For some people.
Sorry, brother.
But
half my damn career.
Or back to Georgia. I mean, Moody Air Force Base is right there, and it's right in between. In Valdosta, it's right between Columbus, where I'm from, and Tampa. We literally had to drive by the base.
Yep.
Anytime we would visit home, we were like, man, it'd be nice if this trip was over.
Yep.
And and I had that on my BMP, ironically, but that in, got nothing. So because I didn't have an assignment going to Korea, you have the option of leaving your family where they're currently stationed.
Yep.
Or you can move them to your home of record.
Correct.
My wife's home of record was still Tampa, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa, Florida, for those of you who don't know, has an extremely high BAH rate.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved her back to Tampa.
Hell yeah.
And she got herself a very small, nice, inexpensive one-bedroom apartment, and we saved some money.
Did you have kids at that point?
We still, to this day, do not have kids.
Oh, okay.
We are trying. Just get my business out there. But we unfortunately, in the military, you might see this too. You see a lot of young men who get a woman pregnant very early in their life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they kind of lose their childhood. And we didn't want to do that. We both wanted to make sure we had secure careers. Like I said, I grew up in a very, very good household with a fantastic, supportive family.
Dude, you're not wrong.
I wanted to give that exact same thing to any potential children I had. So I want to make sure that we were in a position where if we brought someone into this world, that we would be able to not only provide for it, but provide for it in a way that I felt it deserved.
So you're not wrong. Like, we see people get married extremely young and then they have kids extremely quickly. Like with
18-year-olds with 3 kids.
I mean, with my wife and I, like, I didn't want to get married till 30 and I didn't want kids till 35. I got married at 27 and had kids at 31. But we, like you said, with your glare, like, some of us spent a lot of time in Florida. We got all of our partying out. Like,
and that's what we did. We enjoyed spending time with our friends, our family, traveling when we could.
Yeah, you know? Like, we partied a lot in Florida. So, like, when we moved to California, like, yeah, we'd go down to LA and, like, go to some of the beach bars and stuff like that. But we weren't in, like, the fancy clubs or anything like that. That's not our scene. Like, but we're at, like, the beach bars or whatever. And then when we did get pregnant and start a family, like, cool, like, we've done all that. Like, we had a bunch of young kids in the shop that got married, started having kids. I'm like, that's good on you, but you're 21 and you have your entire life ahead of you.
Not just that, but
like, you want to have fun. You want to enjoy your marriage, enjoy your spouse before, like,
enjoy our time together.
It's not about you two anymore. It's about that kid.
Yep. We also, my wife is a very, very driven person, and she wanted to have a career. She didn't want to stay at home. She didn't want to do any of that, and I am very supportive of that. Still to this day, extremely supportive of her, and very proud of what she's done.
So she's bringing home the bacon, is what you're saying.
Oh, I got a sugar mama, baby. She started working while we were in Tucson and found a very good career path that has led to a lot of success and a lot of blessings for our family. So, and a lot of that was because she had the time to focus on her career because we had waited to have children.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. And now, like I said, because of that, we're both doing well, and we're in a situation where we know that when we finally get to that point, that we'll be able to provide hopefully a fantastic life.
Oh yeah, 100%. So you go to Korea, you go to Osan this time.
Yep.
She moves to Tampa,
Yep.
Small little spot, collect that BAH, baby. I'm all about it. How was your time in Korea at Osan the second time?
So the second time around was actually way better.
Really?
I'm going to say something that may be controversial to anyone who's ever been to Kunsan. I'm sorry, it's not better. It's not even close. Camaraderie is cute and all, but the Osan blows it out of the water. You're crazy, whatever.
So there's a rivalry between the two bases in Korea. Like, depending on which one you go to, there's Wolfpack and there's something else. I don't know. I've never been to Korea.
Mustangs are like all there.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, there's a lot of internal Korea Air Force Base rivalry on which one's the best.
There's AMU rivalry. Well, I guess not AMUs anymore, but
yeah,
back then AMU rivalries.
There are definitely some rivalries on who's better, XYZ, what base is better as a whole. That's something that, that's always going to live on. But I mean, you're hearing it right here that Osan's better. So
It just is, man. I hate to break the news to anyone. If you think
was it the fact that you could literally like walk right out the gate and there'd be stuff and you wouldn't have to take a 45-minute drive?
Huge part of it. Another huge part of it.
It's still the collective. You still have hooches,
Yeah, but the hooches, there's no reason we go to the hooches.
Go to the hooches.
Real bars, right?
Because there's real bars right out the gate.
And another big part of me enjoying Osan more was because, like I said, when we left Davis Monthan, there was a very large batch of us just from my shop alone. I'm talking like 10 plus people, all got orders to Osan at the same time. So I went there with a bunch of people that I had been working with for the last 4 years that a lot of them I called friends, including a guy who I consider one of my best friends was there, and 2 other fellas that I consider very, very good friends. So I was surrounded by people that I knew that, and the funny thing was it was all their first times to Korea, except for me. So for me, this was kind of like, hey, welcome.
Yeah, shop daddy.
And then a bunch of people kept kind of trickling in over that. Like at this point, I've been in long enough to know people in my career field, and know people in similar surrounding career fields. So we had a lot of good people there that we were working with, and
that makes a difference, man.
It makes a huge difference because some people run into the situation where maybe they struggle to make friends or something like that. You get to Korea, and now you're separated from your family, which could be your only friends, and it can make it difficult for some people. Me, I was just surrounded by fantastic people and able to go out and enjoy Seoul and the said and travel with all these fantastic people. I went paragliding with one of my buddies there, which was horrifying. The drive up was more horrifying than actually paragliding.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. They strapped us in the back of a bongo, had us standing. There were chains around it, and they drove up a single lane road up a mountain. And I think this guy thought he was Mario Andretti in this thing. He had us leaning into the turns to keep from tipping. I mean, he was scooting. It was horrifying. And jumping off the cliff was nothing at that point.
Nice. That's crazy. Hopefully you don't glide into the DMZ. Did you go up to the DMZ while you were there?
I did that the first time when I was in Kunsan. I took one of the trips that the base provided.
Yep.
And that was a very surreal experience. I'd strongly recommend. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Right.
But if they are, I strongly recommend that for anybody. It gives you a good bit of perspective on why you're there. So.
Okay. Any crazy stories from your time at Osan?
Whoo! So there used to be a bar in Osan. I think it's still there. From what I gather, it's changed pretty aggressively in the set. It's called Brew, and they had a bunch of beers on tap. And we enjoyed going there and just having like a nice beer, after eating out on the set. Fantastic food. Oh my God, go to Korea just for the food. Just do it. It's worth it. You have a great amount of food. Yeah, and you get done eating, you're like, I could have a beer. So we would go into Brew, and we have quite a few nights. I'm not going to go into all of them, but there was a running joke with our group of friends about just a beer at Brew. We'd all be getting ready to go in, and so I'm like, hey man, let's go get a beer at Brew. And someone would be like, man, I'm ready to go home. I'm done. I'm tired. Come on, man. It's just a beer at Brew.
Yeah.
And those nights would turn into the 3 a.m. Slosh drunk, stumbling, holding each other up through it. Every time. So it became a running joke. Still a running joke with those people. Actually, I met some people in Korea too that I also consider to be some of my absolute best friends. Still stay in contact with them to this day, even though they're on the other side of the world. Shout out to Kyle Lawley. Like him. He doubt he's listening, but
I also highly doubt he's listening.
Yeah, I'll tell him too.
Yeah.
But so, like I said, opportunity to meet a bunch of great people. I think the worst night for me particularly was the night I turned 29. Again, I went there with a lot of my friends. We were already able to drink. Everyone was old enough at this point. You've been in that long. Everyone's 20.
And you're all staff, so you're all hanging out with other similar ranked individuals. You're not hanging out with brand new guys.
So for my birthday, we go out, we eat, and we went to this bar. They kept calling it Mr. Kim's. I don't think it's still there, and I forgot what the name of it was, but we started thrashing some drinks, soju drinks, pretty hard. And apparently, when I was going to the restroom, Mr. Kim was going over to my already half-drank drinks and dumping straight soju onto them and topping them off, and I was already so gone at this point that I wasn't even noticing it and just continued to drink them. So I fell asleep at the bar, like slumped over, out cold. I think there's some pictures somewhere on the internet of that.
I think it's called blacked out.
And they might have been. You know, look, we have our own names for things.
Yeah.
Sleeping, blacking out, whatever you want to call it.
Took a nap.
Yeah, it's all the vitamins in the beer. I had to absorb them. But I got carried back basically by one of my good buddies back to my room. That was one that woke up with my shoes on. I was out of commission for 2 days. The hangover was so bad. That same night, one of our good buddies, he also got into it. And he stumbled his way home, fell off of a very tall curb, tore holes all in his pants and stuff, messed himself up, and he passed out naked on the floor in his house or his apartment.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was a good time.
Well played. So you another 12 months.
Yep,
Another 12 months. Still just doing.
Eric. So at this point in my career, I was no longer in F-16s. I actually only did F-16s for 1 year, ironically. They trained me for 1 year, and then when I went to DM, I shifted over to A-10s, and I stayed on in A-10s until the day I retired.
Okay. So you went from F-16s over to the 10s. You were doing 10s in Korea. Still doing like air quotes weapons here?
Yeah, aircraft armament, loading bombs and bullets on it. I had transferred a little bit of my job title at that point. I got a job at what we call load barn, weapons safety standardization, whatever you want to call it. The second half of my time there. I had a job over there and was doing that, which was more of a training and evaluating position than it was doing my job. At that point, I've been doing my job for 6 straight years.
Right.
So I guess I'd become a subject matter expert, and they were polite enough to pick me up to train people. So.
Okay. So you work at A-10s there, and then you go from DM, or from Korea, where'd you go? Where was your follow-on to?
Well, ironically, like I mentioned earlier, I tried to BOP to Moody, and I got my follow-on to Moody.
Sweet. Okay, so
we're all happy.
Everybody's happy. The wife was in Tampa, so she's
yeah,
probably hoping she stayed in Tampa.
She was happier than if we had ended up back in like DM or something like that. Obviously, we would have been
or like
upset.
Jersey,
or Minot.
or Minot.
Why not?
Reason's the reason. So Lackland to Shepherd to Korea to DM to Korea to Moody.
Yep.
That's a lot of moving.
It was a ton of moving. I was very tired of moving at that point.
I bet. So you got to Moody. Moody's got the A-10s.
Yep.
Right outside of Valdosta, Georgia. There. So from Georgia, in Georgia, and you're watching, you know, dogs play, and doing your sportsy thing.
I'm enjoying watching the Braves play. So I said I like sports. I do enjoy most all sports. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I do try to follow the Hawks when I can. But I'm a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. Unfortunately, I'm a huge Atlanta Falcons fan, which is probably the hardest thing I do every day.
Yeah.
I am an Atlanta Braves fan. Weirdly enough, my wife doesn't care about hardly any of that. She is a Tampa Bay Rays fan, but that causes some discussion in our house. One team's won some World Series, the other never has. Sorry if you're a Rays fan. So the discussions are usually pretty quick.
Yeah.
But she is a huge NHL fan. I don't know if you know this about Tampa, but they have the Tampa Bay Lightning down there.
Yes.
And she just fell in love with the sport. And
My
was
wife
a huge follower
also watches hockey religiously.
And you know, she didn't really want to watch football with me, and I wanted to be able to enjoy something sports related because I love sports with her. Mm-hmm. And early in our marriage, you know, I would sit down, she'd want to put a Tampa game on, I'd put it on, and I was just lost. She started explaining it to me, and eventually I started picking up on it.
Right.
And once you understand the sport, it's so fun to watch. Oh my God, it's so fun to watch. And I just fell in love with it, so I did adopt the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's the only non-Georgia team that I pulled for.
Okay. So, you're at Moody. You're doing A-10 stuff. How long were you at Moody?
4 years.
Okay, 4 years.
Yep.
Now, you are retired,
Yep.
but did you do any deployments in your time?
So
like
no.
Not Korea stuff, but
No.
like
So this is
deed or
so during during all that PCSing,
Yep.
I always seem to line a PCS up just in time to either be leaving before deployment or coming in just in time to not be able to get spun up quick enough to get out the door again.
Okay.
So I always missed on it, and then unfortunately I had one I probably could have gone on at the tail end, but obviously, you know, you're here and I'm retired, and if you're doing the math and keeping up with the years, it doesn't add up to 20. Unfortunately, at that point, I had started having a lot of medical issues with my back, and because of that, I couldn't get cleared to get deployed anymore.
Right.
I couldn't go on TDYs or anything at the tail end of my career, and was never able to do that, and then my career got ended. So
Right. So that's what we're gonna talk about. So, what year did you come in?
I came in 2013,
So 13, and you just got out here like a month and a half, 2 months.
back in November 21st.
So 10 years. So right at
Right at
10
10
years. Right at 10 years. All right. So a bunch of PCSs, but no deployments. So
A lot of
nothing.
TDYs.
A lot of TDYs.
Not the same.
Not the same, right? So I mean, Afghanistan was still going on.
And we went over-
in 13 when you came in.
Well,
Iraq
13 going to
was-
Kunsan, I wasn't going to go anywhere while we're in Korea. That's
Yeah,
your mission in Korea.
You're locked.
When I
but-
got the DM, they literally were like heading out the door the
Yeah.
same month, and then I'm
And you
heading
can't
out
be
the door.
you can't be touched with it. It's not like the Army where you show up and then boom, oh, your unit's going, you're going with your unit. That shit doesn't happen in the Air Force. Like,
Especially coming from a completely different airframe, I had zero knowledge
Yeah.
when I walked in that door of that airframe, so they knew it was going to take me months before I was spun up enough to be an effective troop. So.
yeah, get qualified and
And
everything
then
like that.
caught orders to head back to Korea right around the time that they rolled out again over there.
Right. So, does the fact that you didn't deploy weigh on you after being in for 10 years?
Yes and no. I have mixed feelings about it. I do wish I could have experienced that. That is something I genuinely do wish I would have had the opportunity to experience, especially with some of my friends, because some of my very good friends went on deployments that I was unable to make it to because of, like I said, health issues or whatever it was, PCSs.
Timing.
Just bad timing. And I do feel like I did miss out on something that would have been a lot of fun to do. And I mean, that's, especially for my career field, that is when you are out there doing your job. I know we do our job every single day,
Right.
but we're doing our job in the sense of we're training to do our job every day. Going out there and actually executing our job is a whole different ball game. And like I said, unfortunately, I never got that chance.
Okay. And like you said, you got out, you medically got out, right?
Yeah.
Were you medically SEP or medically retired?
Medically retired.
Okay, medically retired. So when did you first start noticing your pain levels or your back issues or whatever?
My original doctor's appointment, unfortunately I looked at my own medical records because I had lost track at that point, was back in 2018. I'd gone in for just, don't let this fool you, at one point I was in really good shape. I used to deadlift, power lift, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, one day I got done with the gym, my back hurt. I thought it was just muscle soreness, and then it just wouldn't go away. And so I went in and got seen about it. They gave me some crud. After a couple months, I healed up. I was still young.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still had some soreness. There was still the occasional issue, nothing that a ton of a league wouldn't fix at the time.
Right. The thing that we're not supposed to do.
Yeah, you know. And that was 2019 when I was in Korea. I was able to get through all that. Coming to Moody is when things got bad.
Okay. And what year did you get to Moody?
I got to Moody in 2020, just in time
Okay.
for COVID.
COVID, got it.
And obviously not a lot happened during the COVID years, but I started noticing more back pain. And again, you know, I'm 30 years old at this point. I'm just thinking, okay, you know, this is what everyone jokes about, especially in the military. 30 is old, man.
Yep. You're
I
halfway
mean,
in the grave at 30.
Yeah, I mean, shoot.
Shit, I'm almost 40.
I was sitting behind Christopher Columbus when he came over, man.
Yep.
But it was starting to become uncomfortable, but nothing, again, I just thought, you know, attribute it to old age, bad habits of working out and not taking care of myself kind of thing. So the last thing I addressed, I was way overweight for my size. I was like 225 at the time.
Yep.
I am not a tall guy. And I went on this huge diet. I lost 40 pounds.
Nice.
And still was dealing with this pain. So I was like, okay, it's not because I'm carrying all this extra weight around. That's not what's causing this. There's something else going on here. But as you know, it's kind of taboo if you start getting on profiles or you start getting seen because
Yep.
now you miss out on the things that are fun, the TDYs, the deployments, all that stuff, because
Yep.
you end up getting medically blacklisted from those sort of things, basically. And so I kept putting it off to go get seen because I didn't want to. I wanted to go out and enjoy this experience. And in late 2020, COVID had gotten to a point where we could at least get out again, and me and my wife wanted to celebrate our anniversary. And so we went to Universal Studios.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Islands of Adventure. We bought a 2-day pass. I think the CAC was selling like cheap,
Yep.
inexpensive tickets. So I was like,
ITT
cool.
and
Yeah, I was like, we'll do that. This will be fun. We'll go down to Orlando. Her mom came over and visited while we were there. It was just a nice experience. But we spent 2 days just kind of walking around the park, riding a couple of rides here and there, but just spending time together and getting around. And partway through the second day, I just started noticing that I was starting to get some pain in my leg and some pain in my back. But I've been standing all day in lines, walking around in concrete. I'm getting older. I'm like, oh man, I'm just sore from all this stuff. And
that wasn't what it was.
no, and I drove back, and as I'm driving back, it's like a 3-hour drive. I'm like an hour into it, and I'm tensing up more and more. We get home, I'm like, hey, I'm not okay. I need to lay down. I lay down, and at like 2 a.m. in the morning, I wake up with it felt like fire and lightning shooting down my leg into my heel, and I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I physically couldn't do it, and I went and got a shot from the whatever emergency care of something in my back or whatever. And for about 4 days, I was borderline bedridden. And again, being the smart guy that I am, this time I at least went to my PCM. I told him, like, hey man, this happened. I'm not okay. They did the usual thing, drink more water.
Here's
And
some
here's some Motrin, and let's try physical therapy. So I did physical therapy for 6 months, and things seemed to get better. So I was like, okay, you know what? We're past this point in my life. This is what I needed. We'll be good now. And so I did that. And then about 6 months later, I went to, and I know this is going to sound so cliche considering all the things I do, working with heavy equipment on A10s, bending over all the time to get up underneath these things and all this stuff. The thing that actually broke me bad, it was 7 in the morning. I will never forget it. Our roll call's at 7:30. I only live 5 minutes from base. So I was getting dressed to roll out the door. And I bent over to tie my left bootlace. And when I bent over, it felt like someone came up to me and slapped me with a rubber band in my lower back. And I hit the ground, took the breath out of me with so much pain. I couldn't pick myself up to get back on the couch. I had to call my wife to come in there and help me up. I sat there, caught my breath, got my life together, and again, being a stubborn guy, because God forbid we
Went
did
to
something.
stand up.
Being stubborn, I was like, I'm fine. I pulled something. I'm fine. I got to go into work. So I hop in my truck, and when I say hop, that's loose. I pull myself into my truck and just painfully get myself to base, get in there, sit down in my chair, and I couldn't get up to go to roll call. I physically couldn't get out of the chair. I had to have a fellow by the name of Munio help me get out of the chair. And at that point, they were like, "You're done. You need to go get fixed." And I was like, "Okay, well, that seems like a good idea now." So
That's if somebody else is telling me to take care of myself, well, I guess I'll do it.
they literally helped me get into my truck. I drove straight to the emergency care. They gave me another shot and a bunch of just crap. I went and I was, again, not bedridden, but basically I couldn't get out of my own chairs. Like, I had to have help to get up. I was in pain like I had never felt in my life. And I had shingles at 22.
Yeah.
That's a new different type of pain, but I was in some of the most pain I've ever been for 10 straight days. I mean, I couldn't get off the toilet. That's how bad it was. Pain like I never felt. I was losing a ton of sleep. We went to physical therapy again once that got to where I could walk, but it would never go away at this point. I just had this constant back pain.
So what did they, did they try and do x-ray or MRI?
So we had already done x-rays, and they noticed that there was some deterioration of my joints. They were like, hey, it's kind of common for people in your career field at this age. It's nothing too alarming. After doing physical therapy for a second time and having no results from it this time around, I was like, after, like I said, about 6 months, I went back to my PC and said, hey man, like something's still wrong with me.
Right.
We've got to look into this. Can we do an MRI at this point? And he finally was like, yeah, we've actually done everything. That's the next logical step. Let's go there. The MRI results revealed that I had 3 blown discs, including one that was severely pancaked apparently in between my S4 and L5 vertebrae, the 2 lowest right before your butt, and then the 2 on top of it. I had something called severe spinal stenosis in 4 of my lower vertebrae, which is spinal column thinning. So basically my spinal column was swelling and getting tighter around my actual spinal cord, which was causing a lot of the constant pains. And when my lowest disc blew out, it blew into my left sciatica nerve, and that's where all the leg pain was coming from, and it had damaged it. So turns out I was actually pretty messed up, and I was just being an idiot. So take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Don't. You only get one body, and I can tell you right now, if I could go back and do this all over again, the very first time I had this problem, I wish I had fought harder to get that MRI, because at this point, things were, I won't say too far gone, but there was really nothing we could do. And the reality,
you're just fucked.
Yeah, the reality of it was, hey, we're going to try some things. We tried steroid shots in my back. We tried nerve ablation, burning your actual nerves so you just wouldn't feel the pain.
Because that makes it better.
Yeah, we tried mixes of different prescriptions, which I hated because most of the stuff they prescribed would make me extremely tired, and I'd rather be awake and in pain than asleep all the time.
Yeah, that's not a quality of life.
It's not. And we did physical therapy, that didn't really work, and finally it got to the point where the reality of it is we're staring down the barrel of surgery, and at that point my PCN was just like, look, man, I'm recommending you for a med board.
Right.
It's like, he called me up, they said, this is going to happen. We just want you to know. And I was like, you know what, I've really enjoyed this, but at this point, I only got one back, and I still hopefully have a lot of life left.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll do what we have to do then.
So, did you ever get a surgery?
No, I still have not managed to go through with that, and I'm scared to do that to an extent. I don't know if you know a lot about back surgeries.
They usually don't work.
They usually don't. My grandfather,
from what I hear.
So my grandfather had the exact same thing. He recently passed. He had 4 different surgeries, and what I've been told by multiple doctors is the problem with these surgeries is a lot of it involves fusing your spine.
Right.
And when they do that, what happens is the joints on top and below where they fuse your spine now have to take the grunt of all the movement, so they start wearing faster. And that's why when you find out or you hear about people having back surgeries, they usually end up having another one like 5 years, 10 years down the road,
right.
And then they just cascade into having like 4 surgeries. And a doctor that I trust a lot, after I got out, I obviously went and got more opinions because it's to military doctors, which y'all suck.
We tell it like it is here.
Yeah, and his recommendation to me was hold off on it until your quality of life is no longer bearable. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just basically I feel like I have a bad back day every day.
So like my wife, she's blinder in a bat, and they told her like if you go and get like eye surgery, LASIK or PRK or whatever the hell it is, like you're just gonna get it again in 10 years. Like you're not gonna wear glasses for 10 years, and then and this was in our 20s, so like, at like 32, you're gonna have to go get eye surgery again. So what's the point?
It doesn't help that, like I said, my granddad had 4 surgeries, including a lot of the problems I have.
Right.
And then my mom had to have her upper vertebrae. She has 3 fused vertebrae.
Yeah.
And this is all on my mom's side of the family, and now here I am. So could be something hereditary. It's not ideal looking at the family history.
Yeah, exactly. So haven't gone through with surgery, but you got recommended for a med board, and so the med board process is obviously different than just like getting out of the military or retiring. There's some positives from what I've heard, and there's obviously some negatives to it. One of the negatives, it moves real damn fast.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, I've heard it can go fast.
It can go very fast.
I've heard like from the time you get initiated and you go to the dog, it's like can be 6 months. It can be like 2 months. Like I've heard different things from different people.
So for me, it was May to November, and I had a lot because I had been going to my PCN for these issues.
So 6 months.
And mine was relatively quick because I did have, fortunately, I was smart enough to have all this medical history with my back at this point. We've already done all the stuff. I didn't have to go get checked by a bunch of different doctors or anything like that to add time onto it.
Right.
So mine was quick.
Okay. So they take care of a bunch of the, I'd say, administrative parts of it, right? So you get recommended for MEB, Like they're going to notify your commander, let them know. So that's automatically going to put you on a certain list that you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. You're obviously going to be on a profile. So it's almost like you can't do your job.
I could not.
So then you're sitting there like, well, shit, what good am I? Because I can't do the job. Other people have to pick up my slack. Was there any feelings of that while you were kind of going through this process?
I won't toot my own horn, but I was pretty solid at what I did at that point. I was very, very knowledgeable, and at this point I had actually gotten hired again back into the weapons safety standardization at Moody as a subject matter guy, and I'd been there for 2 years, and they knew what was going on. They knew about it.
Yeah.
They were my supervision when I had the full blown breakdown, and I was stuck, couldn't hardly stand up. Like they're literally the guys that helped me get out of the chair once, so they understood what was going on. They were keeping track of it. So no, I don't think there was any hard feelings for that. And I still tried to do anything that I could. And a lot of the stuff near the tail end was more me being, like I said, subject matter expert, where we actually had a lot of new people coming into WS. And I say new, just not new to that career path.
Right.
And I was kind of that constant there.
Right.
So
you were like
knowledge base that was.
You were a green GS basically.
Yeah. So I was just hanging out, waiting for the day to come, and doing what I could do. So no, I don't think it was. I never, at least never to me, did anything get to me that said that anyone seemed upset about what was going on. People see paperwork all the time, especially in my career film.
Yeah, I mean it's common. But like, did you feel that you were like letting the team down, that you couldn't like fully do the job?
I hated not being able to go out there and doing that, because while I do joke about the flight line and all that, I will say, especially after you've done that for so long, I especially loved the teaching aspect of all of that. That was something that I took a lot of pride in and was very passionate about. I loved nothing made me happier than getting someone new to that airframe, or someone new to being in a position for loading bombs on planes, and teaching them how to do this and showing them the methodology and helping them to understand it and helping them get efficient at it, help them become proficient at it, doing things safely, reliably, and watching those gears start turning and them understand it.
Right.
That process was something that I took a lot of pride in.
Okay.
So yes, I did. I missed that a lot, because I couldn't go out there and do that anymore, because you have to be physically outside, standing for long periods of time and doing things. And at that point, I was getting to a point where like standing for like 8 hours a day was starting to get hard to do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And also moving 2,000-pound bombs around is not particularly easy.
Even with a jammer, it's not
I
easy.
say when those things get spinning around, your life gets real funky real quick.
Yeah.
And,
if somebody does something stupid, you got to get out of the way, and you can't get
Or
out
you
of the way
gotta stop.
quickly. Yeah.
And like I said, yes, I did. Internally, I felt like not so much holding it back, because like I said, at that point, a lot of times I was getting asked questions, so I still felt like I was contributing. But I felt like something was missing, because I was enjoying what I was doing so much, and I couldn't do it. And that's what really hurt me most.
Okay, so that's interesting. Like, even though like you're getting out, they're still like coming to you for the answers, but like you can't be out there like this talking about the plane that's right here. They have to.
I could waddle out there and do my thing, but because in order for us to be able to teach, we have to also be certified ourselves.
Right.
In order to do the job and be certified, you can't be on a medical profile.
Right.
Because you can't handle 2,000-pound bombs and take up 25-pound bombs and lock them in manually and stuff like that because of that. So because I was no longer able to do that, all of my certifications expired.
Yep.
So I was no longer allowed to legally go out there and train. Yes, I would poke my head out any chance I could get, trust me. But, every time I got done, I had to caveat, hey, by the way, like, don't use my name and telling them, hey, so-and-so said this.
Yeah.
Because I'm not technically allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what I think Boeing does.
So what was the actual paperwork process as far as, because they're going through the rest of your medical records, and like when you get medically retired, they basically do your whole
That went quick.
Yeah, like your whole medical history to get you your VA rating for you without necessarily having to. I mean, you still have to go to your appointments, but like they do a bunch of it for you and with you much faster than the guy that's just retiring out of the military.
Yeah. And
What does that process look like?
honestly, I wasn't particularly involved with it, other than when I would get emails requesting for me to either go to a doctor or fill out whatever paperwork forms needed to be sent up or going to meet with my PCN. Outside of that, there really wasn't a whole ton of my involvement. It was a lot of, they'd send me something, I'd tell them what's going on, or I'd fill out the form and I'd send it back to them, and it would disappear for like 2 weeks, and then I'd get another one, and they kept coming back, and you can hop on the VA website, check your status, all that good stuff. And then after it was like 5.5 months, all of a sudden I finally got the email. It's like, hey, you'll be getting your rating in the next couple of days.
Okay.
And like I said, it felt very hands off.
Okay. Do you think that was beneficial? Do you think you would have wanted to be more involved?
I do wish I had been more involved. I'm actually currently reapplying for VA stuff because don't get me wrong, I got a rating that I'm not like, I don't know what I'll ever do, but I am fighting for a little bit higher rating. I do think it's because I was so nonchalant in it. I do wish I had been more hands-on and asked more questions. Okay.
And you can tell me what it is offline because I'm definitely curious. But because I know what I'm shooting for with
we can have a whole discussion about it, buddy. I'm fairly knowledgeable now because I did all the research. Unfortunately, a little bit later. But I am very well versed in it now.
But I mean, there's a bunch of dudes on the outside that's their whole gig. Like they've created their own little business about helping.
I never tried one of those guys.
Get a higher rating.
And I thought about it.
Because there's two different types of what I heard. There's the cash up, there's the cash plan, pay them $400 or $500, and they get your rating bumped up. But I've heard of the, hey, if it goes up X amount, I get a percentage of whatever it goes up. And I'm like, that seems a little weird.
And there's the guys that, if we don't get your rating increased, it's free. Rating increase guaranteed.
Yeah, like it seems a little hokey to me, but.
I've never messed with any of those guys, and I, in my career, have never heard of anyone interfacing with those guys. I'm not saying they're good or bad or anything like that. I don't know anything about them.
I've got two people that are, one is my uncle, and the other is a good friend of mine in the PT world, and they have both gone through a individual and gotten a higher increase. But yeah, so going through the process of getting out, they went and took all of your paperwork and everything like that, and then got you wham bam, thank you ma'am, here's your rating, and then like obviously you're still doing all the out processing of the military. You're out processing through finance, and you're out processing through like your unit, and then the wing, and then the base, and then turning in all your shit to LRS or CIF. What's that?
Remember how we discussed 4 PCSs?
Yeah,
I can out process in a hurry.
You're real fucking good at it.
That was nothing but a day.
I have found out that if you never check in, you don't have to check out.
I'm not gonna say that I may have done a few PCAs, especially during that COVID time frame.
Yeah,
man, there's a lot of stuff that got just. Oh yeah, that happened during COVID. We probably lost it all. I'm like, yeah, totally. That's what happened.
So apparently, my finance records are still at Eglin because even though I PCS'd to Herbie and in-processed Herbie, because I never had physical orders, because AFPC wouldn't give them to me because they said it's a PCA. I don't know if I'm at Eglin or at Herbie. I know I work at Herbie, but according to finance, I never PCS.
I went to PCA out of the group out of Armament shop over into WS at Moody, and I went to DTS to get my stuff transferred over. And walked in there. I was like, "Hey man, I need to get transferred over to the group building." He was like, "We don't have any records of you here at all." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." I did PCS in here during COVID, and they were like, "Oh yeah, man, everything got messed up during COVID. They probably got lost. It's all good, whatever." And as I'm walking out the door, I'm like, "I don't think I ever did that." I think I forgot to do that myself, man. But it's all good. I got set up over at the group building. We're all good.
Hell yeah. So they took care of all your stuff. You got your rating. You started the out process. What was going through your mind during that time of transition? Because obviously, like, did you take SkillBridge? Were you able to do SkillBridge?
No, for a med board, no, you're not gonna be able to do that for a medical retirement. It's pretty much once you get the go ahead, your timer starts.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the time frame was they expected me to out process in. It was not long.
Yeah.
And when you have terminal saved up on top of that, It was quick.
Yeah.
Because
As soon as you get your rating, your clock starts to out process, or
pretty much.
Yeah.
They generated my out processing checklist within the week. I think I found out on a Tuesday I had an out processing checklist available in virtual by Thursday.
Wow.
And like I said, I was very well versed. So as soon as I got that thing, I hate to say I was that guy, but I was that guy. I said, all right, y'all, it's been real. I got to take care of this. And I got going on that, and I got going on it hard.
So did you have a going away?
Nope. Ended up not having one.
No.
We were in the middle of a lot of transition, a lot of stuff going on in my unit, and I knew it was going to probably be one of those things where I probably wouldn't get one. I wasn't real concerned about it.
Right. But
before.
Going away, no going away, no plaque, no shake the flight chief's hand or anything like that.
4 PCSs and 4 different PCAs included in that, and I've got 3 plaques for my entire career to show for it.
Wow.
I'll call folk out on that. I ain't got no problem with that, including some places where I was at. I based DM for 4 years, and I walked away with empty hands. And a good career to show for it.
See, and that's the crazy thing. So, I maybe it's just like my sphere of being in the career field. Now, granted, my first going away gift was a dildo screwed onto a plaque.
You still use that, right?
Yeah. The quote says, "Sergeant DeMarco, thanks for your time. Thanks for taking it for so long." Right? Because I started there and I left as an NCO, and their little gag was, "Thanks for taking it for so long." It's hanging up in my gun room, in my closet, because it's literally just been sitting on the top shelf, and I've never really had any place to put it. But nobody goes in my gun room. There's a cipher lock on the door, XYZ. So I put it in the closet. So when my buddy came over and he's like, "Oh, can I check out your gun?" I was like, "Yeah, it's in the closet." And he opened it up, and there's just this purple monster just staring at him. It was fucking hilarious. And his kid was his 13-year-old boy was with us. And he's like, "What's that?" And he shut the door and he's like, "Nothing." It was hilarious. But yeah, so they got me that. And then when I went to Edwards, they got me, they 3D printed a little EOD guy with recycling a trash can and an IED. And it meant something because of I used to do a lot of recycling in California. That when I left the schoolhouse,
some of those plaques and stuff, they look funky to people, because you don't understand the story behind it. I have a plaque that hangs on my wall from when I was in OSON, and it's got a whole little thing that was actually written by a coworker of mine. And if you didn't know anything about me, it would make no sense whatsoever to you. Hell, it's actually a tail flash in a plaque, and they're so minute with the details sometimes. The tail flash is the tail number of, this is when I was evaluating, and like I said, we also evaluated on things like pass-fail rates and stuff, pass-fail criteria, and I had a notoriously bad fail that I handed out to a guy while I was in OSON. I'm talking, I threw the book.
You murdered this guy.
I ruined this guy's
I'm
day.
about to end this man's career.
I'm talking just an insane amount of write-ups. It got very out of hand, and of course, word travels fast in a small community. And it became a joke or whatever, but the tail flash in my going away plaque, the aircraft tail number is the tail number from the aircraft that we loaded that day that I just destroyed that guy on.
Nice.
Such a small detail, and it's something that I won't forget, because I'm just every time I see that tail number, I think of that story.
Yeah.
And it's something cool. I love that. So if you're talking about the recycling bit, little details like that. They may mean nothing to someone else. They might see, tail number 88, whatever. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that meant something to me.
Yeah, that meant something. So there was the trash can, and there was a bunch. They 3D printed a bunch of tiny little beer cans and put them in there, and put a beer can in the guy in the bomb suit's hands, and the guy in the bomb suit's supposed to be me, because our commander came over one day and he's like, "Ring the bell, everybody grab a beer." So I grabbed a beer. You're allowed to have one beer. XYZ, and the flight chief just looked at me, and it became a whole fucking shit show of dumb stuff. And he's like, "You're on standby. You're just the fucking boss told me to yell at him." And so I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Didn't even 2 sips out of it. I was like, "Cool." Gave it to my buddy. Just got my shit and fucking left the shop.
Dude, I remember Friday nights in Korea. Now I don't think they do this much anymore. But Friday nights in maintenance, I worked swing shift a lot, and that was the final shift. And buddy, I tell you right now, if you didn't think that we weren't bringing cases in our backpacks, and I mean, as soon as that last job was done, when our expediter would go in and start filing paperwork, you would just hear all
through
in
the
them
whole-
offices.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, there's nights where I got a little tore up before I even left to go back to my room.
Yeah, 100%. Like
We were living a good life.
back in the day, like you ring that bell and like Friday afternoon, like you're just
The races are on, bro.
yeah, it's off to the races. So that sucks that you didn't get any wall candy.
I was at that point. We had already gotten our house was listed for sale. You asked me earlier, what was going through my mind at that point and stuff like that. I can tell you the top priority for me was what now? What's next in my life? Like, what am I about to do? Because I thought I was going to be a lifer. I thought I was going to do 20 years, and then,
right.
You know,
And that got
you're not really thinking about.
And that got cut short.
Yeah, you're not thinking about what your future is when your future is supposed to be 9 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea. I wish I had gone to more school while I was in. On top of that, I again told you college wasn't a big thing for me, so it kind of stayed that way. Unfortunately,
Did you get your CCAF?
I got a CCAF. That's a whole lot of
Nothing.
It's barely worth the paper it's printed on you.
Core
sorry.
core classes. Core classes.
I had my CCAF. I was literally 2 hours shy of having my CCAF from the BSing in college I did before I ever came in. That's how, whatever it was. No offense. But
you're more worried about making sure that you and your bride were set and that, like, had something.
What is the next chapter in our life? Because at this point, me and her were starting to, like I said, we had gotten to the point where we wanted to have kids now. So all of a sudden, like I said, our big thing was I wanted to be stable. Well, now all of a sudden we've got this huge wrench thrown into that plan that's just staring at us. Yes, VA retirement money is nice. It's not anywhere close to what I was making though.
No.
We're talking a huge downgrade in income, and we're sitting there thinking, okay, we still need to get a new house. We need to move to a place. We didn't have to do this, but we both agreed that there wasn't anything in Valdosta that was keeping us there.
Yeah.
Outside of the great people at Wind and Gunwork, shout out to them. Love
Damn right.
Met a lot of good friends there, actually. And this was actually something that I did notice that I thought was kind of odd. When I went to Moody, something happened that had not happened in my career, and I think a lot of it had to do with how long I'd been in and the rank I had achieved at that point. I didn't make as many friends in the military at Moody as I did at DM when I was in the early stage of my career where I'm around all the airmen and we kind of form this little tight-knit group.
100%.
When you get higher up in there and further in your career, the people that are in that age group you want to hang out with are usually married with kids and doing their
own thing going on.
When they're getting off work, they're not like, hey man, let's go have a beer. They're like, I gotta get home, I gotta pick my kid up from school, you know?
Yep.
So they're out the door, they have their own lives. I understand that. So I ended up making more friends outside of the military when I was in Valdosta than I made in the military through actually this wonderful sport that we participate in.
Yeah. So you said something that kind of stuck with me right there. So when we fill out a 931, right? It's a Airman Comprehensive Assessment, right? It's our initial feedback form, midterm, XYZ.
Oh yeah, we totally did this.
Yeah, exactly. So on that form it says, do you have a wingman? Do you have a mentor? Mm-hmm. And I answered it honestly this time, because like I'm still in. I have a supervisor. I said no. Like, don't have a wingman, and I don't have a mentor. Because
let me ask you this: did you get pulled in and asked about it?
So he's deployed right now. So I sent it to him, and he hasn't messaged me back. But I was like, I don't have a wingman. Like, I got friends. Yeah, I got you. But I got friends that if I call, they're right down the street. They're right down the road. Like,
I've got family. I've got, like I said, the friends I've made there. So
I walked into a shop that had been established.
Yep.
These guys are tech sergeants and staff sergeants and master sergeants that have been together for 9 years. This tech sergeant started at this base. He got there as a brand new A1C, and he's a tech sergeant now, and he just went for master for his first time. And he's still there. Like, that's how tight-knit our shop was. Now, there's some people PCSing and moving and stuff like that, but how do you break into that?
No, it's very difficult.
And that friend culture, right? So, but I've already been, I'm super long in the tooth. I've already hit 20 years. I got 22 months, right? Like, we know what the deal is. Like, I'm not trying to get there and be everybody's bestie.
Yeah.
You need me to do a job? What's the job? Let me do the job. Let me support you guys. Go out, do all your cool guy shit. Let me do my do my last 22 months, and you need to send me somewhere. Like that's not a problem.
But let me focus on the transition.
But it's not even focused on the transition. It's let everybody else go do the cool thing because I know I'm not going to get promoted. So let them, because they asked me, they're like, dude, you haven't been on the deployment since 2014. Do you want to go? Do I want to go? Yes. Should I go? No.
Let someone who eats
let this dude go. He's a brand new master sergeant. He found out right before he left, right? Brand new master sergeant. He's gonna have a shit ton of leadership opportunity there. There's only 4 EOD guys there. Like, you've got this tech sergeant. It's his first look. He's gonna get a bunch of experience, and then you got a staff and then a senior airman. Like, let those 4 dudes go out, rock the shit out of this deployment, and then they're gonna have all that experience. What is sending a 20-year tech sergeant going to do? It's gonna go. It's gonna get on my EPR when it could be on somebody else's that is actually gonna spend another 12 years in the military versus 22 months.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people live very poorly on that mentality. I have seen that where some supervision just really doesn't like that. But like you said, I don't think you're wrong in that way at all. I actually think that's the way we should be. We should focus on taking care of the future. But one of the big things that I always talked about when I was in was that I'm not worried about where I'm going to go in my career. I know that I'm going to find a way to continue to advance my career.
Right.
I'm not worried about myself. What I worry about is when I advance, I am leaving a hole because I'm no longer doing what I was doing. I want to make sure that I am grooming these kids, these younger people, these younger airmen.
Young adults, not
young
kids.
adults, what do you want to call them? I say kids because I'm old.
Exactly.
And making sure that they are in positions where they can step into those shoes out.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Absolutely.
they're doing the same thing. We just need to all be moving down that ladder and filling these holes in these gaps. So I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to set the future up.
Yeah.
Especially when we're only there for just, in the grand scheme of things, such a small amount of time.
Yeah, and so something that I love, I really do love this shop, and like anything they need, like I'm down for it. We do comprehensive face-to-face feedback twice a year at a rank structure. So we started last year, and it was everybody in the shop, and we ranked our leadership from best to worst.
Ooh, that's a dangerous game to play right there.
On attributes that we found important to us as a shop.
Ooh.
Team ability, knowledge, emotional intelligence, drive.
Can that hurt some feelings?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I can tell you right now, that would not fly in my career.
No.
That get you in some.
That would get you call. So we have a brand new captain. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. He was at the bottom for a lot of it. But he doesn't know. When you've got 12 years, 20 years, 19 years sitting there and 3 months in the seat, he's still in the leadership position.
Yes.
But when we did the tech sergeants next, they were pretty brutally honest with me. They were like, dude, you're never here. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah, you suck.
I'm here from 6:30 in the morning, but when that clock hits 3, I'm gone. Unless there is something active that we're doing, response call, inventory, something has to be done. Because for the last 20 years, I've been the guy that stays until 7, 8 o'clock.
You don't owe these people anything at this point. You've done, I know it sounds cliche, but you've done
Yeah.
your time.
And I kind of explained it that way. And I was like, they're like, well, you never, you haven't gone on any TDYs. I was like, you're correct. Because I want you guys to go on TDYs. I will go if there is absolutely nobody else to go. However, I'm not going to sit there and take a TDY from this guy.
Right.
That's not going to serve me. Do I want to go to Breacher? Yes, I want to go to Breacher. But if I go to Breacher, I'm taking a spot from somebody else. And what does me going to Breacher do for the enterprise, air quotes, versus you? You're going to go to another base, you can continue your training, you can put it on your EPO. It's not going to do anything for me.
Right.
Besides going to a cool course and learning something, which
That I'm not
would
going to be
cool.
able to apply in 2 years.
Exactly. It doesn't benefit me.
doesn't benefit me, it doesn't benefit you. It's just a bad move.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah,
Like you said, if you have to do it, it's fine.
Now, if it's like a dumb course that we have to go to, or that we can't, if it's a dumb course that we can't go to, we can go to air assault and we can go to airborne. Why the fuck am I gonna go? I could go to those two. I could sign up right now and go into the next class. I don't have a desire to go to air assault or freaking airborne. Like, I'm already busted up enough. If I jump out of an airplane 5 times, I'm gonna die, right? I'm gonna hit the ground and turn into dust. Like,
Walk into my car, it's a long way.
yeah, it's not gonna do me any good. But like, there's a couple of courses that I want to go to, and there's a couple of things that I'm gonna do while I'm still in that I'm super excited about. Like, I'm going on a TDY in June over to Korea. It'll be my first and only time to Korea.
You missed out.
A short like I think it's 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Take a short trip over there.
That's not even enough time to get over the jet lag, man.
Exactly. And then I'm going, like a bunch of people know, I'm scheduled to go to Papua New Guinea this year as well to do human remains recovery for MIA, POW from like World War II stuff. So like literally once in a lifetime thing. So I'm super excited about it. But like, I didn't volunteer for those. Those came down from like on high and got picked because it's a job it's not a job requirement. You have to have a skill level requirement. They want, applicable knowledge on like the items that you're going to be dealing with. I was a ground instructor at the schoolhouse for 2 years. Like, I was also a TMD's instructor. So like tools and ground ordnance, like it's my jam. So yeah, but that was a long tangent to get around to saying that you didn't get any awards when you left.
No.
But so getting us back on track here on our 15-minute tangent. But
it's very easy to go on an Air Force ramp.
Oh man.
But let's get back where we were.
So we go and we're getting out, and you do all your out processing. You guys, like you said, you sold the house. Nothing was keeping you there to Valdosta. What was the job search aspect like? Like, so you had to go to TAPS, right?
Yep, and I'm going to say something I thought I would never say.
Okay.
I always saw things like TAPS and all this as just this, we're covering our bases to make sure that when we push you out the door that we can say we tried to take care of you. I always thought that those kind of
it was
things,
a CYA course.
Yeah, and I just thought it was going to be just useless, just me in a room just staring off into space, drooling,
Right.
trying to get through the week of TAPS. And there was, if you pay attention, an overwhelming amount of very, very good information that I did not know anything about.
Okay.
Including something that helped me sell my house.
Okay.
Which was huge.
Really?
Yes, that I had no idea about. I did not know about VA assumable loans. Like all military guys, I have a VA loan on my house.
Right.
I didn't know that VA loans, as long as it's in the paperwork, are assumable. I thought that was just like.
So me as a military guy that moves to Moody, I could just assume your loan?
No, anybody, civilian included,
Wow.
could assume not only my loan, but my loan rate.
Wow.
Which my loan rate at the time, I'm not going to go into numbers, but I'm going to tell you it was a full 3% lower than what they would have got
Yeah.
anywhere else at that time.
Yeah. Like I got right at the right time. I got like a 2% on my house right now.
I'm trying to sell a house and that I'd only just gotten into, because we thought, like I said, I thought it was going to be a booty for a long time. So we had literally just bought a house about a year and some change before all this happened. So we would have been wildly upside down if I hadn't put enough money down on it. But we're just trying to recover our money at this point. We're like, man, we don't want to leave here owing cash.
Yeah.
And I found out in TAPS that I could put this up as an assumable loan. And here's the even cooler part about it. You can still, it's not like an assume like, oh, you owe this much, so this person's going to just take over that much and that percentage and you're just scot-free, no money. You can still sell your house for whatever the value is of the house, and whatever the difference in what it sells and what you own on that loan, that's your money.
Nice.
So I got to advertise a crazy low rate and sell my house for full asking price. And my house was on the market for a week and a half.
That's awesome.
Because of that. Now, granted, that process takes about a month longer.
Right.
When you're trying to actually transfer it and assume it. So do take that with a grain of salt. But the fact that the house was able to sell so quick because we had already gotten a house lined up in Columbus. We were ready to go.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. You guys decided to move back to Columbus.
Yes, so decided to move back to Columbus. That's where my family is. Her family's down in Tampa. Her family's not very large. There's only a handful of them down there. My family is very large, and so we moved back up to Columbus. It just seemed like a little bit better support system. And also, I don't know if you know a lot about Tampa. It's expensive. Dollar goes a whole lot farther in Columbus than it does in Tampa. So for finances, it just made more sense to move up there. So yeah, a nice place just down the road from my parents, which is a blessing and not a blessing because my mother is a bit of a helicopter mom sometimes. So she'll just kind of pop in when she feels like it. God bless her, love her to death. But we might be a little too close.
Yeah, just a touch. You got to live in that good 35, 40-minute range, right?
Well, she's been begging for grandchildren, so whenever we spit one of those out, I've already told her that it's time to pay the piper from all the begging. So if we want to go do something,
yeah,
you're
100%.
You're real close. We'll walk them to your door.
Yeah. Oh wow, that close.
Just about.
Okay, so moved up there. What was probably the biggest? Aside from the house, what was the other biggest thing that you took away from TAPS? Like the job writing, the resume writing,
the resume writing. So I don't think that the resume writing they taught in TAPS was good. It may give you a foundation if you haven't done it, which I hadn't written one in plus years, 10
years, yeah.
And they offer a second course that you can take that is specific to writing a resume. It was a 2-day course. I forgot what it's called, but you can take it after TAPS as a second, a separate thing. And it was, again, extremely good information. They spent 2 days, asking all these questions, teaching us how to interview, teaching us how to write resumes, how to use modern sites and stuff to tailor your resume so that it's more likely to get picked up. Because let's be real, most job searches nowadays are probably being done with AI or something. They're just looking for hot words and stuff like that.
Right.
I didn't know all these things. I've been out on the job market for 11 years before this stuff was really prominent. And so that was extremely helpful for me, I feel like.
Fantastic.
So I would strongly recommend that class to anyone who is getting out. For if you
well, it's congressionally mandated.
Well, no, not TAPS. No, the
other one?
Class, yes.
Okay. With the transition piece and the getting out and turning in the CAC and getting escorted to the gate for the last time or whatever, what is your look back on the time? Not was it worth it or anything else like that? Because you got a bum back out of it, but you met tons of people and everything else. But what did, besides the bad back, I guess, what did the military leave you with?
Oh, man, it's very bittersweet. There's no two ways around it. Because as you say, you can say besides the bad back, it's very hard to overlook that. But I have met people that have genuinely changed my life in terms of the way I look at things, the way that I perceive things, the way that I analyze things, the way that I think. They've opened my eyes to ways of life and allowed me to see stuff that I would have never seen staying in my little town in Georgia. I've met people that I consider to be, absolute best friends that I hope that we're at each other's funerals. No, not in that sense, but I hope that I stay with them till the end. Just awesome people. I've seen places that some people could only dream of seeing. I've been to Alaska and seen the Northern Lights with my own eyes. I've been to the top of Mount McKinley. I've been to Seoul, Korea. I've been to, Salina, Kansas. Just, goofy places that I would have just never had the opportunity to go to and
100%.
see it while getting paid. That was the best part about it. I was there.
100%.
And when we're on TDYs, we're not always working our butts off, to be honest with you. Sometimes we're having a good time.
Fact, bro.
But I've met friends that I would kill over, and I do genuinely think will be a part of my life for the foreseeable future. Friends that I will probably just tell my children that are their uncles. Kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Those
100%.
kinds of friends that I genuinely made in the end. I obviously met my wife, not through the military, but obviously she liked a man in the uniform back when we were young.
Right,
so, and that meant, the world that I was able to provide for her, and we were able to do everything we've done. So I take away from it a lot of positives, a lot of life-related positives that have put me where I'm at, and I can't complain about that.
Right.
Because it's an experience that you just cannot recreate anywhere in this world.
Right. So lots of positives. So you made your transition, you got out, you guys moved back to Columbus, you got a property, you're living, you're working now, right?
Yep, finally found a job.
So you found, how, from the time you got out to the time you actually secured employment, what did that look like?
Got out November 21st. I did not intend to do too much job searching. We had enough money saved up. We weren't like freaking out or anything to start with. It was also rolling into Christmas, Thanksgiving time frame. I wanted to spend a holiday with my family without anything that could possibly pull me away.
Pull you away. Okay.
And so I was like, you know what? I want to get through the holidays. Also, a lot of businesses aren't particularly looking
long-term hires
for during the holiday season. Plus, places are closed. My dad, like I say, deals with finances, and he kind of gave me some advice and said, hey, look, until after about January 10th, you're probably just barking up trees, aren't doing anything. And so I started putting feelers out mid-December. I wanted to give myself a month to decompress. Period. Died. I wasn't going to work. I didn't care. I just did not. I wanted to just have nothing to think about. So I sat around, played a bunch of video games with old buddies online, and went and fished a little bit, shot a match, just anything I could do that wasn't that, because I needed to decompress. I needed to remember who Clay was, not who Sergeant Thomas was at that point. I needed to get back to that. I needed to remember my first name, and I don't regret any of that. Really don't. Like I said, I had enough money to sit around, and that wasn't a problem. And obviously moving, me not working, because my wife couldn't stop working during this time frame. She works from home, fortunately enough, so this wasn't a big deal with the move, but she was having to work while I'm over there unpacking stuff and moving everything around and taking care of all the logistics of the move. So that helped us out a lot. But after about midway through December, right before Christmas, I started putting some feelers out. Pratt & Whitney has a facility in Columbus, so I put a ton of feelers out there, kind of hoping, but I just could never get my foot in the door.
Right.
I got more rejection letters from them than I got anything. Here's a fun fact for everybody, by the way. When you get out of the military, in a lot of states, you can collect unemployment if you don't get a job. So I did, and again, found that out there in TAPS. More positives for TAPS. Would have never known that. So I applied for that, so I had a little bit of money. It was not a lot.
No, God, no, it's not.
Spending money on the side, I guess. We weren't hurting. And then early during New Year's, my dad has a big trip that he does for our whole family where we all go to Biloxi, Mississippi, and become degenerates for a couple of days. Usually watch college football playoffs. This year was a little hard because Georgia wasn't there, but last year was fantastic. I watched Ohio State miss that field goal at midnight.
And it was amazing.
That was the greatest thing on earth. Fuck Ohio State. So we went there, and one of the guys that happened to come down, that's a bit of a business partner with my dad, works for a company called Synovus Banks, and he asked me, he's like, well, what are you planning on doing? I was like, man, I don't know what I'm planning on doing. I'm just trying to
look for a job. That's what I'm planning on doing.
I'm just trying to get anything at this point. I'm not saying I'm deflated, but I'm just looking for work. He said, hey man, look, he's like, apply at Synovus. I was like, I got no banking experience whatsoever. He's like, we've got some jobs opening up that aren't on the banking side, that are in their operations sides, that I think that you might be, capable of doing, and let me give you some contact information. So he puts me in contact with a fellow that hires over there in their operations. He calls me up, and he was like, hey man, you have time for a quick interview? I was like, absolutely. At this point, I'm like, I'll do anything. You can stay in my head, I'll try. And he calls me up, says, do this online interview, did that. We talked about what I did in the military, and it apparently translated very well into a position that they needed someone who actually didn't have a ton of experience, because I needed to ask a ton of questions for what I was going to do. And, after I think it was 3 other interviews that I had to do with some other people, they fortunately got back with me and told me they were going to bring me on.
Cool.
And it was fantastic.
So now you work at a bank.
I work
from home. From home.
From home, actually, right now. They're building an office in my hometown that I'm hoping I can start working at soon enough. But yes, I work from home for operations for Synovus Bank. They've been nothing but kind to me so far, and the job is basically reviewing kind of TOs. We talked about it a little bit in passing earlier today, but going through all the processes of the bank, and they have to create guidelines for all this to where if someone new comes on, they can take these guidelines, read into them, and learn how to do these processes. But there's thousands of processes.
Right.
And they need to basically need someone to go through all of these and kind of proof them. And who's better to prove something than someone who has no idea what's going on?
Right. So you proof and validate the process on how they screw up my deposit slip. Is that what you're telling me?
No, but I have nothing to do with it.
But no, you watch somebody complete a process and you say, hey, what did you do there? Why did you do that there? How did you do that there? And then
they'll have their procedure list that is basically a step for step what they're doing, and it's my job to watch them do it. And if they do something that doesn't line up exactly with that, say, okay, why did you do that? And why is that not in this?
Okay.
Is this something that someone should know? Am I just dumb? You know,
Right,
because
right.
And that's the beauty of, like I said, me not having a lot of experience in this. I'm going to ask those questions
Right.
because I am starting to learn some things, but I still am extremely green in this, and so I'm very curious about this. I hate not knowing about stuff. So, oddly enough, an inexperienced candidate was the perfect candidate for this
Right.
job. So I've enjoyed it. Like I said, I get to work from home, which my wife works from home, and I don't think she enjoys me working from home. She's really excited about the idea of me getting out because I do love her.
So you found employment, you've turned the page. I mean, November till now, you're looking 5 months of being out. You've secured a job, you've secured a house, like you're back near family. You said when you left a hole, right? In your shop.
Yep.
Right? So people like me, we're getting out. Got a bug flying around my ear. People like me, we're getting out whether we retire, we just do our 4 and get out, we do our 10 and get out, we get hurt and we get either med sep or med retired, right? We're all gonna get out at some point. What do you wish you would have known before you got out?
In terms of transitioning, or
Yeah, like what do you like? Because yours obviously happened not the way that you wanted it to. You wanted to be 20, right? But like you still had to get out. Like you didn't have a choice.
Yep.
Like everybody hits a point where they have to get out.
Yep.
You can no longer continue
how
to
your
serve.
senior says, one of these ways you're getting out of here.
Exactly, right? So like what do you wish you would have known? What could have been beneficial knowledge to you when you got out that you didn't have, that maybe now that looking back you've gained that information the hard way?
I wish I had been better at networking, for one thing, because it was through networking basically that I ended up finding a job, and accidentally, realistically.
Right.
And I wish I hadn't been so close-minded, because I was convinced moving back to Columbus that I was going to get a job at Pratt Whitney. It's aeronautical.
Yep.
It's a manufacturing plant. Yeah, okay, they're manufacturing aircraft engines. I was manufacturing loading balls on planes. In my brain, it worked out. A lot of the stuff kind of translated. It was a lot of working with your hands and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? They're gonna see my resume and they're gonna be like, this is the guy right here.
Right.
And they never were.
They never did.
I was so close-minded in thinking that was just the plan.
Right.
Like once I figured out, like I told you earlier, like the first thing was, okay, what do I do now? And then I found that and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna pursue this with every iota of my being instead of branching out and looking at a lot of different places. And by the time I realized I am kind of wasting my time doing this because I just could not get picked up by them, I was like, God, I could have applied to 30 other jobs. I could have been all over the place. And that's the thing I picked up from this. I wish I had been more broad in what I was doing, and I just didn't think about it. I thought I was just going to go right into doing something similar to what I'd been doing, and especially in my career field, not a lot of places want you to put bombs on aircraft. I know it sounds really crazy.
It's pretty limited what places want you to put a bomb on an airplane.
I called Delta and they said that we're not there yet. So,
right. So I guess my question to that is like, were there no QA or standardization jobs you could have done as a civilian at Moody?
We were ready to get out of Valdosta.
Fair enough.
Working at Moody was, I won't say off limits. It was just, I'm not driving 3 hours to work.
Well,
now,
like
more.
staying in Valdosta. You were just done?
Also, on top of that, I had just unfortunately lost both of my grandparents, or both of my granddads had just passed.
Okay. So
within the year.
getting back home to family was a priority.
We were getting to that point where, you know, you start to realize after that, it's like, okay, well, you know, next in line's my parents.
Right.
And I've still got two grandmothers that also live in Columbus, and, you know, time is limited with these people.
Yep.
And I was
100%.
like,
That makes sense.
let's Columbus just made more sense. It was a larger job market. If we had, like I said, a family support system there, everything just added up to that being the better of the choices. So Valdosta, unless, now don't get me wrong, had I found work right out the gate, or someone had offered me a job in Valdosta that had paid well enough to keep me there, we would have stayed.
Yeah.
We didn't hate the town; it was still close enough, but there was nothing anchoring us there. We didn't have roots there like we've had in the past.
For sure, I understand that. So, what would you tell the? Fuck it. What would you tell me? I'm getting out in 22 months. What would you tell me about preparing for the transition?
Start now.
Okay, start what now?
Start looking for jobs if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Some people, I mean, you're going to collect a full-blown retirement. That's the other unfortunate part of a medical retirement. It is only a medical retirement. So that 20-year, 10-year payment check a month, I'll never get that.
Right.
That'll never happen. So I lost out on a significant amount of monthly income because of that.
Right.
Now, some people, when they retire after 20 years and then you compound it with VA stuff, you make a decent enough money that you may not have to work depending on what kind of lifestyle you want to live.
I got 2 kids with special needs and diabetes.
I know. I didn't know.
I'm going back to work.
And also, again, our sport isn't particularly conducive to your wallet.
Oh God, no.
So money. So, like I said, start looking, start figuring out what you want to do next. Focus on that and start getting yourself out there for that. Because had I not gotten lucky, I might still be looking for a job right now.
Right.
And you know, that money you have,
it burns
keeps
through
shrinking
quick,
over and over. Like I said, we were fine, but after 4 months, I'm sitting there staring at it like, okay, this is going to be a problem soon.
You're like,
and don't find yourself in that situation.
Rice and beans, baby.
So I strongly recommend, like I said, getting started on that. Know where you're going to go. We had a good system on. We already figured out as soon as the med board started, and a PCM kind of told me, it's like there's an extremely likely chance this is going to go through.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I understand. And as soon as we got that, we were like, we need to start figuring out where are we going next, you know?
Right.
And we settled on Columbus. So start planning for your future, like I said, for work, for where you're going to live. Understand that life is going to get dramatically different in terms of a lot of things. Stress levels. I'll say this: I'm a lot less stressed than I was. I don't find myself checking my phone when I'm not at work. When my boss, my new boss, when she messages me and it's not work hours, it's usually just to ask me a little quick question. I'm not like, oh God, am I about to have to come in? I don't have this little cloud hanging over it because, you know, I'm paid to come in on the hours I'm paid to come in on.
Yep.
It's not how we're paid.
It's not 24/7, 365. You're going to answer your phone.
I don't have, you know, I watch the news a lot differently.
My boss called me today.
Exactly.
So this is my boss that's already retired and on terminal, and she called me, and I was stage 2, and I was like,
not now.
I was literally like, I put my bag in, and my phone started vibrating, and I was like, click. Got off the stage, texted her. I was like, at a match, what's up? She's like, oh, for some odd reason, the command post called me. Shop lost power. Somebody's got to go to the shop. I was like, I'm 6.5 hours away in Georgia. Have fun with that. And she's like, I got a hold of Perkins. I was like, cool, not my problem. And then it popped up in the group chat, and I was like, yeah, I'm not here, guys. Sorry.
So I have a lot less stress because of things like that. I have noticed that I found more time for hobbies, which is super nice because we worked an 8-hour workday in the military.
Yeah, 8-hour workday.
Which was, you show up 30 minutes early.
And
for some arbitrary reason, we need to be there before we need to be there. 15 minutes early is 15 minutes late. And then whatever time you're supposed to get off, that's just when you start doing your turnover for whoever's coming in. That turns into another hour. So an 8-hour workday is really like a 9 to 10-hour workday.
Yeah, and then you get like security forces guys where you got guard mount and post mount, where a 12-hour day turns into a 14-hour day.
Exactly. So I don't have that.
Yeah.
I wake up, I go into work. I do get in a little bit early just because I think some old habits die hard. I did find that's something I've had to adjust to. I keep finding myself showing up to stuff like 10 minutes earlier than everybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody else works on people time, civilian time. Someone says they're going to be there at 8, they're going to be there at 8ish.
Yeah.
I'm there at 7:50 for some reason, standing in the parking lot alone.
Yeah.
So things like that have been very weird to transition into. What else did I think about? Something that you'll have a lot of. You'll have this crazy amount of times with your family, which can be great.
Yeah.
My wife probably might disagree.
You spend a lot of time with your wife. You guys work probably 15 feet from each other.
She moved to the other side of the house. Got 2 bedrooms on the opposite ends now because of.
Yeah.
I think I was maybe bugging her a little too much. A lot of that kind of stuff. In terms of other things to tell you, like, it's not scary. It's really not. Don't be scared of it. Some people, for some reason, this becomes their personality. This becomes their life. And I personally don't like that. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your service. There's nothing wrong with being proud of what you've done. There's nothing wrong with, being the guy that it's like, hey, I was a veteran, I did all this stuff. But I personally don't think that you need to let that define your life.
So you're saying don't be a bro vet.
Don't be the bro vet. I get it, and there's probably a place for that stuff, man. But to me, that is a temporary portion of your life. Even if you do your 20 years, hopefully most of y'all are going to have a whole nother half of a life to live past that. You need to find what your next identity is going to be, and it may still be military related. There's tons of people that go into GS and stuff like that. So I can't.
100%.
If you stick with it and that's how it is, then hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But
Gotta put food on the table, man.
I just. Like, I don't have a whole ton of Air Force stuff around my house anymore. And, I have no problem talking about it. Obviously, we've been talking about it for a hot minute today. But it's not something I just bring up in conversation anymore. If someone asks what you do, I'll tell them.
Yeah.
I'm proud of what I did. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm very proud of what I've done.
But it's not who you are.
But like I said, I have transitioned into Clay.
Right.
So.
When you put it like that, I've been transitioned for like 6 years now.
Now you're guy.
Yeah, so that kind of strikes a chord because I was the gung ho, made it kind of my personality thing, and then I don't know if it's the imposter syndrome or whatever, because 20 years, 2 deployments, none of them combat related.
I'm thinking about me. 11.
0. Yeah,
And maybe that's why I'm talking from this perspective. Maybe I wasn't there to experience that. Maybe that's why I don't think that way.
But our deployments are very different. You would have gone to the deed or Turkey, Kandahar maybe or something like that with a flight line, and launched jets and turned sorties, got an IDF or whatever. But
we're not breaking.
That's your job, right?
We're not breaking wire.
Right, you're not breaking wire. My job is specifically, that's the whole fucking reason we have my job. Yeah. And I never done it.
So, and that may be,
it's weird. So I'm claiming this thing that I've never done. It still weighs on me, but it's not. I don't have as big a problem with it anymore.
Like I said, I got no problem with it. Be proud of it. There's no, I'm not trying to sit here and knock on any vets. I want to be real clear about that. I love everybody that's done all this, and if you've served, that is some of the bravest stuff that anyone can ever do on this earth. No one can ever take that away from you. But yeah, the bro vets, where I'm not gonna name any names, but you know exactly.
They're funny, but it's their identity, and hey, they're making money off it, so that's literally their job. I get it, but come on, man.
There's more to you than this, right?
Yeah. I hope that there's more substance there than that. So, bring it back. What you're looking at an MBB, you're only going to do 4 years. I'm getting out in 22 months. The start now part. What? I guess maybe what's the biggest thing that you learned? in your transition, refinding Clay, having that time back with your family, like what's the biggest thing that you've learned, and maybe what's the biggest thing that you appreciate about that transition?
I've learned that both of the dogs that my wife got for me are actually her dogs.
Oh yeah,
Even when they're around all the time now, they
Yeah.
still love her more. That's really upsetting, by the way. It's just
Yeah,
unbelievable. She bought me a dog for a birthday gift, and it's hers. Ain't that messed up?
That's messed
I
up.
picked the dog out.
Yeah, you got her dog.
Yeah.
She's like, oh honey, get this as a birthday present. Thanks for my dog.
Yeah, I learned that. In terms of hobbies, I kind of just defaulted back to a lot of my old hobbies. Unfortunately, I told you earlier that I used to be really good at golf, and I didn't stop being good at golf. I'd like to clarify that. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you I should have been on the PGA Tour. I'm a realist. But I used to go out and I would beat your average guy pretty bad and have a good time and maybe play for some money every now and then. And unfortunately, with all the back issues, that's just not something I can really do anymore.
Yeah, twisting and turning.
And, I'm sure there's some people that are sitting here that are like, oh man, how you doing? How you carrying these 25-pound guns around if you got all these back issues? Well, because I'm doing it for 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's sitting on something. I have to pick up the heavy gun for 3 seconds and then plop it on something, and then I'm not holding it anymore. That's how I do this.
Yeah.
Working a bolt is very easy.
Like going to an NRL hunter is going to be a different story.
Which is why I would like to do that, but I understand a lot of my limitations on that, and that's why I'm very hesitant to do interrupt hunter. Not because I don't think it'd be fun, because I don't know if I can physically do one. And
you know what we should do? We should talk to one of the match directors and see if we can get a disabled guy category.
dude, me and Mike Cusick will do it. Let's go.
Yeah, because Mike's back screwed up too.
Yeah, we'll ride our four-wheelers around or something. I'll ride on the back of him. I don't care.
Yeah.
Not on the back of him, but I'll ride on the back of his
Back of his
four-wheeler.
four-wheeler, yeah. Get a little cart back there, put a chair in it, it'd be great.
So you know, I don't really do a whole lot of golf. I follow sports a lot more than I did because I was starting to not lose interest. I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
I have spent a lot of time with my family. It's been just huge for me. It's
That's
just
awesome.
moving back home. I was able to. Me and my mom and my dad and my wife, we go out and eat dinner together at least once a week. And it's not like it's something that we sat around and said, let's do this. It's just we find ourselves calling each other.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
Let's
what
go
are you
visit.
doing? Let's
Yeah.
go get something to eat. And I hope that it stays like that. I hope it stays like that for forever. Because like I said, who knows how long we have them. And things like that, and finding out about them, because I've been gone for so long. I mean, even being in Valdosta, 3 hours away from someone doesn't seem like a lot when you've been 20 hours away from someone, you know? So, being able to just see them whenever versus seeing them for holidays.
Every 6 months.
And maybe giving them a phone call. And that, you know, that part of that's my fault, part of that's their fault, part of that's all our fault.
Yep.
Especially in the military.
I'm very bad about calling people. I'm
Calling
terrible.
your family, calling your friends, checking up on them.
If my friends are
see what's
listening
going
to
on.
this right now, fucking call me because
You just forget. You get tied up with
Yep.
work. You get tied up with life. It happens.
100%.
And being far away does not help the cause. And now I find myself talking to my mom or my dad almost every other day. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
so-
been fantastic.
So, like, I love my family to death. We get along great. Like, whether it's my brother-in-law, my stepmom, whatever, everybody gets along great. But we've never been the family that like calls each other every day. So like, my wife's family, so my in-laws live 5 minutes down the street. So me moving away from where I'm at is probably never going to happen, and I'm super bummed about it.
Not for me.
Yeah, I'm over it. Well, I'm over that
I
part.
hate beaches and sunshine. This is stupid.
Dude, I am ginger and allergic to the sun.
That's your fault.
You leave me alone. I just went through a cancer treatment on my face. All right. Yeah, but they live down the street, so like, they do talk every day. Whether it be her aunt, her grandma, her grandpa, and her dad all live within 5 minutes of us. And her other uncle lives down in the villages. And then all my family lives in Arizona. So who do we see all the time? Exactly. Which isn't a bad thing. I love them to death. And they're super helpful from time to time. But like, yes, I don't pick up the phone enough. Like, I try and make
Like
a
I
point.
said, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
I know I'm just as guilty as we are, or as anyone else is about this. So it just happens.
Yeah.
And now that I'm back and I don't have this, And again, do not, anyone who bangs with snow, I would like to be clear, I say I'm less stressful. I still work very hard. I want to be very clear. And the people who work around me are fantastic. They have a fantastic team. I'm not just saying that because they pay me. Genuinely, they've been so welcoming. It's unreal. But there's just something about civilian work life that I have noticed that is just
Peaceful.
It's less, and this sounds so cliche, especially in your line of duty. It's not life or death.
Right.
It's really genuinely not life or death, and it was sometimes life or death.
Yeah.
In our old career fields, we're loading explosives in my career field. We are putting bombs onto things. Bombs, when things go wrong, kill people. That is
Go real wrong.
Yeah, they go real wrong. There's no cleaning up someone when a bomb goes wrong. You know what I mean? So it was a matter of life and death when people weren't doing what they were supposed to do.
Right.
So it got turned into something, and you always had that little thing in the back of your head. It's like, this isn't done right. I am going to get lit up about it.
Yep.
Whether it was
100%.
mash chewing or whatever. I mean,
People
God
or
forbid
cookies
something
or-
actually happens to somebody because of negligence.
Yeah.
So not having that, knowing, and don't get me wrong, we take care of your pay, I swear. But
But like if you miss, if
I mess up,
nobody's gonna die.
no one will die.
Somebody
We'll
will be
fix it.
inconvenienced, but nobody's gonna die.
No one's gonna get crushed. No one's gonna get blown up. No one's not gonna see tomorrow. So
Yeah.
not having that in the back of the head.
Notice how
makes it
neither
so
one of us said anything about an aircraft because we both do not care about the aircraft.
Whatever. We'll find another one to put the bombs on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been a huge part of it. I do find myself so much less stressed because of it, and it's been so nice feeling that, meeting, starting to kind of branch out and seeing old family friends I haven't seen forever, cousins, nieces, nephews.
Mm-hmm.
God, dude, I have a nephew that is this is exactly what's wrong with me. I don't know how old he is. I think he's 11, and he loves me to death for some reason.
Yeah.
And I'm never around.
So
And-
it was a very weird, striking thing when my nephew was messaging me on Instagram.
Oh.
Yeah, he's 14. He's in his freshman year right now, and like it was awkward. I'm like, why the fuck is he texting me? He's like 10, and my sister's like, he's 14, asshole. And I was like, "Ugh."
And that's the thing that's been really nice. Reconnect. Like, I missed out on 10 years of my family's life. And like I said, I came from a very good family. And that was not just my mom and my dad and my brother. I had a very, very tight support system of family networking in Columbus with my grandparents, my nieces, my nephews, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, all this. And then I was uprooted from it for 11 years. And I missed all these people grow up. All these people have children. All these changes in our family. And now I'm back and I'm seeing all this. And it's so new and it's so surreal and it's so nice, but it also is a little sad because, like I said, I'm sitting here. I've got a nephew who's growing up that it's like, "Oh, Uncle Clay, it's so nice to see you," and I'm just like, "What birthday is this?"
Yeah, exactly, right?
And I'm like, why do you like me so much, man? Like, I'm not around. I want to be a great uncle. Don't get me wrong. I try everything, but it's just like, man, there's got to be someone who's doing a better job than me at this.
Right. So we've been rolling for damn near 2 hours now. So I already asked you what you would tell the guy getting out is start now. But I kind of want to just open the floor up to you and just if you've got any parting shots, last words, last nuggets of advice, or any topic that you want to touch on. I figured I'd give you the floor, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I've got two things I'll talk about real quick. The first one is one other piece of good advice. Find something to do with your time.
Okay.
No matter what it is, find something to do with your time. Keep your mind occupied. Don't let your hands get idle. For me, the big thing when I got out, other than trying to find work and all that sort of stuff, was this sport that we're in. I mean, This is how you and I met. This is how me and a lot of wonderful people have met. PRS, I've sunk a lot of my time and my effort into this. Kenneth Martinez, just fantastic people and a super welcoming community. And I've focused a lot of my time, my efforts, getting my reloading bench reset up after a move, which was a nightmare. Getting my life together, getting loads developed for new guns, like all this stuff that kept my mind occupied because of a hobby that I genuinely enjoy and enjoy doing with people. Make sure you have that. Keep yourself occupied and keep yourself busy because, you know, the idle hands are the devil's plaything, all that good stuff. It's good for your health.
Okay.
And the other thing that I want to touch on just real quick, unfortunately in our career field, we see a lot of people have issues that arise from mental health. And I just want to touch on this real quick because unfortunately recently FAB, and I'm not going to go into details on it, but we did lose another airman that was a friend of mine and a very good friend to a lot of people that I know and work down there. And he unfortunately decided to take his own life recently. And I just want to reach out to anybody out there that is listening and say that, you know, if you're having issues like this in these ways, please reach out. I don't even care who it is, who you reach out to. Find somebody and talk. We would rather hear your story than read about it. So give us that opportunity. Give anybody that opportunity. So just for your own mental health, for your own purposes, please don't be scared to reach out to anybody you need to. So I just want to part with that.
I appreciate you sharing that. All right, guys, we're going to hop off here and go figure out what we're going to do next. But Clay, I super appreciate you coming on. I know we've been talking about this for
a couple months now.
I
told you to let me get employed so I didn't look like a bum.
Yeah, that is true. And now you got a job, so we were like, you know what? We're both here. I like doing these things in person. I'm not 100%.
You're not showing up the matches I'm asking because you're scared.
Yeah, you're already beating me today.
Well, that's not bad.
I mean, that is also true. But yeah, like I like doing these things in person. So this was the first match we were both at. So sat down. We're in the shed. I'm recording this on an iPhone in our headsets. So, dude, just thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story and your experience. I think it's good to get that transition story. And I've had some people that have just like done the 4 years and got out, done the 20 years and got out. You know, you have a completely different path being, you know, medically retired. So I appreciate you coming on and giving us that perspective. So I think it's super valuable, and hopefully you guys at home get a little bit of knowledge or some things to think about. Or it encourages you to pick up the phone and call your buddy, or if you are needing help, pick up the phone and call and ask for that help, or walk in and talk to your friends, say, hey, I'm struggling or I'm hurting, and get the help that you need.
Yeah.
So once again, thanks for coming on, brother, and let's go figure out what to do or go.
I know what I need to do. Let's go get some food, bro.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, bro. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on another GD podcast. Yeah, I'm going to roll this outro.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, brother.